Welcome to Heavy Talk. I'm your girl, Heavie Charnice, aka Heavie, and I'm your back episode of Heavy Talk. Here to serve us some more straight talk with no chaser. Happy Heavy Talk Friday. Thanks so much for tuning in for more straight talk with no chaser. Let's get right into today's episode, starting with your inspiration, your word of the day. Today's word is approach. In life, sometimes it's necessary to change up your approach. Why keep doing the same things that are not effective? Switch it up. Make sure that you follow at HeavieTalk and at Heaven Charnice on Instagram and Twitter for daily words of inspiration. Let's get right into our topics of the day, starting with something that I never saw somebody rather, I thought that I would never be talking about on the pod, because we don't even really get into like the messy and gossipy shade room type topics. We stay away from those. But this was definitely something that I had to talk about. So we're going to be getting into Sexxy Red. Now, I didn't even talk about Sexxy Red, sex tape leak, because that's not what this is about. Let that slide, didn't cover it. But what I am going to talk about with her is recent comments that she made in regards, I'm sure that you already know by now, 45, President Trump. So she was on a podcast and she made some comments about President Trump, really favoring President Trump and giving him props for all that he supposedly did for people and for Black people. So let's talk about these comments that she made. This is what she was quoted saying. Yeah, they support Trump in the hood. At first, I didn't think people was effing with him. They thought he was racist, saying little shit against women. But once he started getting Black people out of jail and giving people that free money, oh, baby, we love Trump. We need him back in office. We need him back because, baby, them checks, them stimulus checks, Trump, we miss you. When she came out, when these comments came out, there was just a lot of different opinions about what she said, but seemingly the general consensus was like, WTF is she doing? Is she really pretty much endorsing Trump? Like, is this really what she said? There's recently been a slew of famous people, really a lot of famous Black people who have come out and endorsed Trump or said that they liked Trump and the things that he did while he was in office. And a lot of the things that they said that he did is just simply inaccurate. It's a lot of misinformation. And the reason why I want to talk about the comments that Sexxy Red made is because she does have a lot of influence with the younger generation. A lot of young people my age and younger listen to her, and they might look at her as a role model and take what she says to be facts. Like if Sexxy Red is saying that Trump was for Black people and she think he should be back in office, then maybe I should too. Like maybe I'm going to support Trump. So it's important to talk about these things and to really get to the real truth, because what she said is it's not really a lot of facts in her comments. So Angela Rye, political commutator, analyst, talked about these comments that Sexxy Red made. She talked about them on her Twitter page. There was just different clips where she broke up each part of what Sexxy Red said. And I want to discuss some of those key points that she talked about. So Sexxy Red's comments generally was saying that she thought that President Trump was racist and also the things that he was saying about Black people. But once he started getting Black people out of jail and once he started giving us money, I guess in her mind that disproved all of those other things that she had heard and that she thought that Trump was. So let's talk about, as Angela Rye did, the point about President Trump getting Black people out of jail. In Angela Rye's video, she brought up a good point, something that I did not know. And what she said was, Out of all of the people who requested clemency, commutations, or pardons, Donald Trump was a president who granted the least amount of pardons since 1945. So that kind of debunks that point that Sexxy Red said about getting a whole bunch of Black people out of jail. It may seem like that's what he did because we know he got out Kodak Black and Lil Wayne, and you know, those are y'all favorite rappers. So it could be like, okay, Trump getting the guys out of jail when, like, dare I say, normal people, he was not getting them out of jail. He was a president that granted the least amount of pardons since 1965. That was around World War II, that far back. She also said on that point about getting black people out of jail, do we remember the Central Park Five who were recently exonerated? If you don't know who that is, go research the Central Park Five. But for those that do know, Trump, before they were exonerated, Donald Trump called for the death penalty for the Central Park Five. So what's all of this about Trump getting Black people out of jail? Like, yeah, no. Then Angela Rye talked about the part of what Sexxy Red about Donald Trump giving us them checks. He was giving us money and baby, we need them checks. I feel like the main check she was talking about, aside from the stimulus checks, was the PPP loans that a lot of people were getting fraudulently. So that's not really free money, like you were getting it fraudulently. And what I've heard, there's been a lot of different branches of government and different offices that have been created to catch those people who are getting PPP loans fraudulently, because those PPP loans were created for small businesses that really needed them, who had workers. So if you were out here getting them and you didn't have any employees, if you didn't have any businesses, shame on you. Like, pretty soon here, you might be getting locked up, especially when they get time to be filing those taxes and stuff. And you got to talk about your income. And you maybe say that you really made this, but then when you filed your PPP loan and you gave them that paperwork, you said something completely different. Like the math literally would not be mathing. Let's get into more of what Angela Rice said, talking about just how Donald Trump was for Black people. He was helping out Black people. Angela Rice talked about housing discrimination. I did not know this either. In 1973, Donald Trump was sued by the Department of Justice for housing discrimination. The housing discrimination that Donald Trump was involved in was so bad that he settled with the Department of Justice, and part of that settlement was working with the New York Urban League to ensure that they would provide potential tenants for him to rent to. He was discriminating against Black people so bad that he had to settle with the Department of Justice. They partnered him up with the New York Urban League. Now we know what the Urban League is, to pair him up with potential tenants. Like, get some Black people in here, you're discriminating. There was less than 10% of Black people rented in his building. But Trump is all for like Black people, right? He was getting Black people out of jail. He was giving those free checks, really. And we know for a fact, going back to Sexxy Red's point about all the stuff that he was saying about women, we know for facts, we heard that audio where he said, just grab them by the what? Okay, but Trump is for Black people. Again, it is important to talk about these things because people like Sexxy Red have influence. She speaks to the younger crowd. I've seen videos of her going to homecomings and going to assemblies. So that's where her audience is. So saying stuff like that can be very, very detrimental, especially with an upcoming election. So it's important to talk about these things, especially when misinformation is being spewed. It's important to course correct and get to the real truth of who Trump was and what he was doing for Black people. If you want to just hear more of what Angela Rye had to say, make sure that you head to her Twitter page or X page, because she broke up Sexxy Red's comments in like 3 different parts. So go check that out. It's very, very insightful. Now let's talk about Doja Cat. Same thing with Sexxy Red. She was doing a lot of stuff and I was just letting it slide. I wasn't talking about it because that is not really what HeavieTalk is about. I didn't even get into Doja Cat when she was like really talking bad about her fans, when she was basically saying F her fans, didn't really cover it. I didn't talk about Doja Cat when she was doing a lot of different things that people seen as devil worshiping. Didn't talk about that either, but what I will talk about is a post and deletes that Doja Cat did that is very, very telling and again, dangerous. Recently, she's been facing backlash for a post and delete that she did. So apparently she posted a picture of her wearing a shirt, and on the shirt, it was a picture of someone who a lot of people believe has ties to the neo-Nazi movement. She posted the picture in the shirt. Soon as she posted, she got a lot of backlash for this photo because a lot of people are familiar with this person is and the supposed ties that he has. Some of those ties are in 2017, this individual who was on her shirt apparently pledged $5,000 to a neo-Nazi website. So that's just a little bit about who this individual is, who she was wearing on her shirt in the picture. Once Doja Cat faced this backlash, she deleted the photo off her Instagram page. Shortly after this, she reposted that same picture of her, but she made sure to crop out her shirt so that you couldn't see who was on her shirt, followed up with the caption of rolling eye emojis. Again, same thing with Sexxy Red. People like Doja Cat and people like Sexxy Red have an audience of younger people who can be easily impressionable, who could really look at these young ladies or younger artists as role models and take what they say as facts. So it is important to condemn things like this and to talk about things like this because it can spiral out of control and get very, very dangerous. I will hope that, especially with something like this, where Doja Cat is taking a picture in a neo-Nazi with the supposed neo-Nazi on her shirt, that people will be a little bit slow to support her because WTF are you doing? And you're being blatant, you're kind of showing that you really don't care because in your follow-up photo, you put the rolling eye emojis. Like, it seems like she's just taking this as a joke and she's not really being serious. WT and the F. I'll be keeping my eye on both of those situations, trying to see if Sexxy Red comes out and retracts what she says, or if when she talks to some people who are more enlightened on the subject, if she changes her stance. And I'll also be looking at if there's any real consequences for the post and delete that Doja Cat did. Now let's get into Heavie Sports Corner, diving into sports and what's been going on this week. Let's start with Team USA and what's been going on. So talked about it a couple episodes ago. Team USA failed to medal recently. This was like the first time since like 1970 something that Team USA did not medal at all. And around this time, this is when Noah Lyles had made his comments about why the NBA calling themselves world champions. They don't compete against other world teams, so they shouldn't be called that. And he faced a lot of backlash because a lot of people's main stance were, well, if we did, we would beat them because we're the better team and yada, yada, yada. And then it seems like Noah's comments and people's stance, it was kind of didn't match up because Team USA went on to lose and they didn't medal. So it seems like Noah has some validity to his comments. So after Team USA failed to medal, a lot of sports people, NBA players was like, okay, it's time for us to get back on it and assemble us a dream team, do it up right. It has been said that a lot of recruitment is going on to trying to get a lot of NBA superstars on Team USA. And they say reports are that LeBron James is leading the charge and trying to get NBA stars on this Team USA team. These reports that LeBron is leading it and that he might join the team have been fueled recently because LeBron James reposted a graphic, and on this graphic, it was a presumed 2024 Olympic roster. And some of the players that were on this roster and in this graphic were LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Jason Tatum, Jimmy Butler, Devin Booker, Stephen Curry, Anthony Davis, Dame Lillard, and Kawhi Leonard. And that's quite a lineup. That's a dream team. So those are the players that were in this graphic. Not a presume, like a hypothetical, what if this was the roster and LeBron James reposted this and put eyes. So if you like me, you would be like, is this what's happening? Is all y'all finna join the team? Really? I'm excited if that's the case. So we'll see if LeBron actually joins the team. But so far, Bam from the Miami Heat and Joel Embiid have already committed to joining Team USA. And if you can recall, Joel Embiid, there was this whole big ordeal when he announced that he was committing to Team USA. A lot of people didn't like that because he decided to join Team USA and not his own home team. So that was a lot of hoopla, but I'm interested in seeing who else will be joining the team. It seems like Stephen Curry has begun to also tease that he might be joining the roster. So we'll keep our eyes on that and see. I hope that eventually these NBA players start getting back to wanting to play for the US and for the Olympics. Like that's how we used to be back in the day. So I hope that they start to get back into that so that we can again medal and show out on the world stage. If we're going to call ourselves world champions, then we need to be performing on the world stage. Now let's get into a little bit of mess with Heavie Sports Corner, talking about Nia Long and the Boston Celtics. Now, if you can recall last year, there was quite a bit of a fiasco with Nia Long, the Celtics, and Nia Long's ex-fiance, who was also the father of her child. So if you don't recall, I'll do a short summarization. The story is Nia Long's ex-fiance was a coach of the Boston Celtics. Last year, some reports came out that apparently this man was having an inappropriate relationship with a team employee. And just a lot more speculation came out that this team employee that he was having the affair with was also married, or that she had a significant other. And then other rumors and speculation came out that this lady who he was with, who she's married to, is a higher up in the Celtics organization. So it just made the situation all the just very, very messy and just very, very embarrassing for Nia Long and for everyone involved. When this is going on, Nia Long didn't really say a lot. She remained very, very poised. The only statements that she really did say is like, just keep her family, her kids, thoughts and prayers, because her kid has to deal with this, being in school and just hearing different things that people are saying and stuff like that. So she was kind of like, mind your business and just pray for us. And I'm not really going to say too much. It seems like Nia Long has finally healed and she's ready to let folks have it. Here recently, she's been throwing quite a bit of shots at the Boston Celtics, and I honestly cannot blame her, because when this was going on, a lot of people with knowledge of the situation in the sports world, commentators, analysts, podcasters, were like, why is this being handled in the way that it's being handled? Why do, we the public know about this? I'm sure there have been a lot of different incidents of inappropriate relationships. So why are we hearing about this one, which kind of fed into the rumors of this? He must have been with someone higher up in the organization, someone's wife, and this is why the Celtics are choosing to handle it this way and put this information out to embarrass him. So one recent thing that Nia Long has said, because she said a couple things that I want to talk about. Most recently, Nia Long reposted a clip to her Instagram page. It was a clip from a podcast. Now, the discussion that was being had in this particular clip was about how the world has to stop for the tears of white women and how white women use knowing that the world stops for their white tears as a manipulation tool to avoid accountability. Now, one of the speakers on the podcast, who is a Black woman, this is what she said: "The minute a white woman cries, the world has to stop. Oh my God, what's wrong with you, baby? Black women cry. We could be rolling around the ground screaming, and you are unmoved because you've been socialized to not see us as human beings." Now, Nia Long shared this clip and she said, "Where was this level of awareness a year ago at Celtics, hashtag Kathleen Lynch?" There are a couple things to break down. I love her cojones to actually she added the Celtics, at Celtics. Also, she hashtagged the name of the suspected mistress that her ex-fiance was with. That is absolutely savage. I love it. I absolutely love it. Now, the interesting part of this, I knew that I wanted to talk about this on the podcast. So when I was going to do my research to get context for this so that I can make sure that I'm well informed and saying it right, I got my information from an article by Boston.com. Now, when I had heard about this previously, I distinctly remember the part that made this so interesting for the public and for me was the fact that Nia Long hashtagged the supposed mistress's name. Yes, it was very ballsy for her to add the Celtics, but the main part that a lot of people just were like wow to is the fact that she made that hashtag. Now, when I was going to this article and I was reading, they had her quote, but they did not have the hashtag of this supposed mistress. I feel like it was intentionally left out. Why would you not include the whole quote? Why would you just leave off the part where she put the lady's name? Which to me just feeds more into the speculation of who this lady is and who she was or is married to. Like, do they have some type of reach with the Boston.com where they wouldn't include this lady's name? Because if you're going to be sharing with what Nia Long said, why would you leave out a part? That's not giving the full context of what she said. Found that to be very interesting. And again, that article is from the Boston.com if you want to check it out and see what I'm talking about. Another incident, something that Nia Long did recently when talking about this whole ordeal, she did an interview with the Hollywood Reporter where she talked about how the whole matter was handled by the Boston Celtics. What she said is, "I think the most heartbreaking part about all of this was seeing my son's face when the Boston Celtics decided to make a very private situation public. It was devastating and still is. He still has moments where it's not easy for him. If you're in the business of protecting women, I'm sorry. No one from the Celtics organization has even called me to see if I'm okay or if the children are okay." That is very, very, very telling. I can't even say what was their point in putting this out, but I can say what was their point in putting this out. But okay, you knew this information ahead of time, whether y'all investigated, and you couldn't have enough decency to come to Nia Long and tell her that this is what was going to be put out in the public soon. Like, you couldn't even tell her that. And if the situation spiral out of control, and before y'all could get a chance to tell her, even after the fact, no one said anything to her, just checking up on her. I think that's just very, very slimy. Very, very, very slimy. Also, again, as to the speculation of the Celtics were just completely pissed off about this whole situation, and were just looking to embarrass, especially the coach. I think his name is Ime and Nia Long. I truly believe that lady was married to someone higher up. So that's how they went about this in the way that they did, trying to embarrass him and punish him to the full extent. That is adding on to the part of, when this situation first came out, they didn't immediately fire him. They just suspended him for the season, which really stopped him from being able to get another job because he was still employed with the Celtics. If y'all this pissed off, y'all put this information out, why not just fire me? Why suspend me? It's like, y'all don't even want me to work, and y'all put this out trying to embarrass me so that I wouldn't be able to get any other job offers. But y'all was wrong, because now he's the coach of the Houston Rockets. So I guess it didn't work. Now let's get into the last aspect of the Heavie Sports Corner, that is Simone Biles. Simone Biles continues to put Black girl magic on display. She made history this weekend, officially becoming the most decorated gymnast of all time. This weekend, she competed in the World Artistic Gymnastics Championship, where she was awarded her 6th all-around World Championship golds. With this win, she broke the record of the most medals won by a gymnast in history. When the tournament concluded, Simone extended her medal count to 37. Clap it up for Simone Biles. Simone is a GOAT, okay? She is completely goated, and I love to see these Black women, these young Black women in the sports world, like Sha'Carri Richardson, Simone Biles, Coco Gauff. Y'all are doing the darn thing. Continue to be great and just show out for Black girl magic and Black representation. Lastly, before we get into things that happen like WTF, I want to briefly talk about fall time. And with fall time, that means that it starts getting darker sooner. So some people start to experience seasonal depression. So I'm going to give a little bit of tips and information about that in case you may need it. So if you're not familiar, seasonal depression happens due to the change in temperature. It starts to get colder, and it also starts to get a little bit darker sooner. So some people start to experience seasonal depression during these months due to the change in seasons and the loss of daylight. Some seasonal depression symptoms include feeling depressed, having low energy, insomnia, difficulties with concentrating, tiredness, and loss of appetite. So I want to give you a couple of tools in case you are experiencing seasonal depression, or if in the past you have. Let's try to get it under control now if we can. I'm just going to give a couple of different tools and resources. First, candles. Candles can be used all year round. They have really, really good scent, and they're also a source of light. There are different candles that can do different things. They can help with anxiety, meditation, and relaxation. So just look up different candle fragrances and see which one may work for you. Tea. Another tool is tea. There is a common misconception that tea is only necessary when you're sick or under the weather. That is not true. Tea can serve a lot of different purposes. There are different kinds of tea that helps with different things, like lavender tea, which for me, it calms my nerves. So check out different tea. packets and just see which one can be beneficial for you. And lastly, facial. It has been found that cold weather draws moisture away from the skin, causing dryness of the skin, which causes a lot of people to deal with eczema. Your eczema can really flare up during the cold months, so it is a good thing or a very helpful thing to do is get you a facial that can really be helpful for you. You can get it done by a licensed esthetician, or you can do it yourself. I love DIY. These are just a couple of tips for you if you are dealing with seasonal depression. As always, if you need other resources or support, make sure that you contact a mental health professional. You are never alone. Seek out the help that you need. It is absolutely nothing wrong with that. And speaking of seeking out the help that you need, I recently interviewed with my most recent Black business scholar, Dr. Evelyn Roberts. She is a mental health therapist. She is the founder of 413 Counseling Services, which offers affordable mental health services. And she dropped a lot of knowledge on me, things that I had no clue about. And the part that I want to talk about is she gave me 3 different questions that you should ask a prospective therapist. It never clued into my mind that you can ask your therapist questions ahead of time just to make sure that they're the right fit for you. And these questions do exactly that. 1, do you take my insurance? That is key. 2, what are your specialties? How she said it to me is, you may be dealing with different kinds of trauma and you want to make sure that your therapist has experience and has the specialty to be able to help you with whatever that trauma may be. 3, what are your hours? That is very key. You want to be able to know that if you need help at a certain time, that your therapist has those type of hours to be able to help you when you need it. Those are my seasonal depression tips and a little bit of information from my scholarship interview. Be on the lookout because that interview will be released soon. And if you're subscribed to the HeavieTalk Media channel, you'll be the first to know when it drops. Now let's get into all the things that have like WTF, because the streets have definitely been a raging. Apparently, a couple in Colorado shared footage of what they believe to be Bigfoot. I don't want to laugh, but WTF, I think that's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, honestly, Bigfoot? There are really people out here that really believe that there is a Bigfoot. Seriously though? Okay. Keeping in with the Bigfoot, weird creatures, the unknown, Ring cameras are offering $1 million to anyone who can capture alien footage on Ring camera devices. WT in the F? I need to get me a Ring camera and spot an alien if I'm gonna get $1 million. My, if you got a Ring camera, be on the lookout. You might just get $1 million if you catch an alien. Who knows? This is a good WTF moment. I actually like this one. Thought this was super cool. Klay Thompson, Chris Paul, and the Golden State Warriors competed against inmates in a basketball match. I don't know why there wasn't more coverage about this. I find this to be really, really cool. Like, they went to the jail, to the prison, I believe, and competed against the inmates. This is like some real like movie stuff. I love that. The most insane story in college football I have seen in a very long time. The Miami and Georgia Tech game. Do you know what I'm talking about? Miami was playing against Georgia Tech. There was like 45 minutes left in the game. Miami was supposed to win. They were up. Instead of taking a knee, Miami decided to run the ball when they were already winning, when it was less than a minute. They ran the ball and they fumbled. Georgia Tech recovered. Georgia Tech went on to score a touchdown and win the game. WTF. Not only I was outraged, the players were outraged, the announcer was outraged. I watched the clip where the announcer was like, that was probably the worst coaching choice that I've ever seen in the history of college football. You are up, it is less than a minute left, and instead of just taking a knee and being done with the game, you decide to run the ball. The players even said WTF like me. They were on the bench like, WTF are we doing? I think that coach should get fired because clearly you don't know what you're doing. Clearly. RIP, we're still hearing about this. The Titan. Presumed human remains have been removed from the Titan submersible. If you can recall, the Titan imploded in June, and the 5 people that were on board were unfortunately killed. So now it is believed to be human remains that have been found in the Titan. Like, WTF, I didn't know if it was even possible for human remains to be found, anything to be found after something implodes, but apparently so. Can imagine what their families are going through, like, yikes. This is something that I saw on Instagram and I found it to be very interesting, but also like WTF. In China, at McDonald's, there are bikes. So you can ride a bike and eat your McDonald's at the same time. And apparently the company who designs these bikes said these bikes are designed to inspire more green behaviors as customers enjoy their McDonald's favorites. The bikes generate electricity to power electronic devices like phones. So not only are they trying to make the people burn off all of their McDonald's, but if you want your phone to work, you got a bike. Wow, WTF. Apparently, there's gonna be a global sugar shortage, which is gonna impact y'all Halloween candy. Because of a drought in Thailand, Thailand is the 4th largest sugar producer. And because of this drought, sugar production has been reduced by 25%. And flooding in India, the US, and Europe, there are now concerns that there is not going to be enough sugar going into the 2023-2024 sugar growing season. So be on the lookout. If your candy starts to go up, this is why, because of flooding in India, the US, and Europe, and the drought in Thailand. California just became the first US state to ban Skittles. WTF, I'm actually nervous because here lately I've been eating a lot of sour Skittles, and you're trying to tell me that these Skittles are not good for me? Like, I might get sick or something? Apparently so. California's governor signed into law a bill where California becomes the first state in the nation to ban the use of 4 food additives commonly found in thousands of products across the US, including cereals, sodas, and candies. WTF? Why am I just now finding out that Skittles are not good for me? Now I gotta stop eating Skittles. That wraps up all things Heavie WTF for today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Happy HeavieTalk Friday. Remember our word of the day. If your approach is not working, don't be afraid to change it up. Why keep doing the same thing that is not effective? As we are in these fall months, be mindful of seasonal depression. Take heed of those different tools that I gave you, candles, teas. And if you need extra support, don't be afraid to reach out to a mental health professional and get the help that you need. And remember the 3 questions that Dr. Evelyn Roberts, our scholar, gave you. Do you take my insurance? What specialties do you have? And what was the last one? I forgot. What are your hours? Okay. I will catch you here for more Straight Talk with No Chaser. Same place, same time. Y'all be safe. I'm your girl Heavie, and I'm out.